Sawadee Cop. All right, starting chapter 7, a new chapter. I'm excited. Interruption, and the art of refusal. Come on, wake the hell up, Greg. You had your coffee already. No excuses. Tighten up. Do your own thinking independently. Be the chess player, not the chess piece. Not like that. Ralph Charell, Charell. I had some homework yesterday before I get into the new stuff. A digerati, Digerati, is somebody who's an expert in digital media. So to be that, social media, the internet, computers. It means a digital expert is digerati. So I looked it up. I didn't know. Learned a new word. And I looked up on Wikipedia, and they say he's definitely not married, Tim. And it says single, but it also points out that he has been very not forthcoming with personal relationship information, which I totally understand and respect. You know, he could be dating somebody and he just chooses not to broadcast it to the fucking world. So, once again, if he is in a relationship and decided to keep it quiet, I respect that. If he's not in a relationship, okay, you know, doesn't make him less of a person. He's still a brilliant guy, like I said. So, anyway, those were my two homework assignments from yesterday. Digerati means digital expert, and as far as the internet knows, Tim is single right now. Meetings are an addictive, highly self-indulgent activity that corporations and other organizations habitually engage in, only because they cannot actually masturbate. Okay, can't wait to see who wrote this one, because that's something I would fucking say. Oh, Dave Barry. Okay, yeah, he's a comedian. That's why. Pulitzer Prize winning American humorist. Okay, so not a comedian, he's a humorist. Pardon me. Well, that's pretty funny. Addictive, highly indulgent. I used to go for the bagels in Jersey. They had really good bagels. You know, they came down from New York. That style. A lot of people live in New York can't stand it because it was a shithole. And that was even 20 years ago. Never mind now. And they would move to Jersey with their kids, and then they would open pizza shops and bagel shops. So in New Jersey, we had New York style of pizza places, little mom and pop, you know, run by a couple, and bagels. We had really good bagels, just like in New York, because people would come down from New York and open small shops. And that was a thing. We would have these corporate meetings, Fortune 500 companies, and the boss would buy a big bag, remember brown paper bags? Those are kind of gone now, but back in the day they had big brown grocery bags full of bagels, and then he'd have cream cheese. And man, I look forward to that shit. The meetings were boring and too long and inefficient, and I'm not sure anything ever really got accomplished in them, but man, those friggin' bagels were good. Spring 2000, Princeton, New Jersey. 1:35 p.m. I think I understand. Moving on, in the next paragraph, it explains that ... I had detailed notes and didn't want to miss a single point. 3:45 p.m. So over 2 hours later. Okay, that makes sense, but if we look at the following example, ... I paused for a moment mid-sentence. The teaching assistant had both hands on his face. Tim, let's end here for now. I'll be sure to keep these points in mind. He had had enough. Me too. But I knew I'd only have to do it once. For all 4 years of school, I had a policy. If I received anything less than an A on the first paper or non-multiple choice test in a given class, I would bring 2 to 3 hours of questions to the grader's office and not leave until the other had answered them all or stopped out of exhaustion. The prick. That's kind of a bullshit move, but it's also brilliant, right? He was like a bratty little kid, but it was effective. I'm sure he got all A's. He got very good grades, and when you're in college, that's the name of the game, right? Not learn something, but get good grades. Well, get your diploma, ultimately. This served two important purposes. I learned exactly how the grader evaluated work, including his or her prejudices and pet peeves, And number two, the grader would think long and hard about ever giving me less than an A. He or she would never consider giving me a bad grade without exceptional reasons for doing so, as he or she knew I'd come knocking for another 3-hour visit. Okay, so there's method to his madness, but that is kind of a bullshit move in my opinion. Learn to be difficult when it counts, in school as in life. Having a reputation for being assertive will help you receive preferential treatment without having to beg or fight for it every time. I'm thinking of back when I was married, we used to watch American Idol, like a lot of America did. That was a very highly rated show. And I remember the judges were all nice and kind and politically correct. And Simon Cowell, the English guy, was a fucking dick, right? He was an asshole and he was really tough. But if you watch that show, you know what I'm talking about. When Simon approved of a single, when he stood up and gave a standing ovation, or when he said great job, it meant more to the contestants because they knew he was a hard ass and didn't give out praise. So what was her name? Paula Abdul. Right, she had a single in the 80s with a cartoon cat, and Randy Jackson, who the fuck knows what he ever did. He was a nobody before Idol. He's still a nobody as far as I know. But they would pass out praise. Oh, you did a great job. Oh, great. Oh, super. Oh, I'm blown away. They did that with every fucking singer. So when they said something positive, it didn't mean anything. When the grumpy old fucking grouch Simon said, you're the shit, that's great, people really, that's the approval they were looking for. They were all waiting for Simon. America was waiting for Simon. The singer was waiting for Simon to see whether they really were, quote, good or not. So his opinion became more valuable than the others simply because he was, like you could say, assertive. I'd call him a dick, but same thing. It was his approval people were seeking. But he didn't give it out so easily or willingly. It's another study in this human nature. The more you understand about people, the more you'll be able to do business with them and interact with them in a good way. Also, the one other thing that jumped out to me in my mind while I was reading that was a lot of times maybe those teachers were giving grades just sort of happy. They're tired. They want to go out and party with their friends. They're human. So they might give you a B or C, not really thinking it through. So he stopped that shit too, you know what I mean? So that's another good reason to do what he did, is they actually paid attention to his grade. Like he said, they wouldn't give him a bad grade unless he really deserved it, which is good, putting the shoe on the other foot, putting the onus on them to do their job. So I like that aspect of it a lot. Well, think back to your days on the playground. There was always a big bully and countless victims, but there was also that one small kid who fought like hell, thrashing and swinging for the fences. He or she might not have won, but after one or two exhausting exchanges, the bully chose not to bother him or her. It was easier to find someone else. Be that kid. Doing the important and ignoring the trivial is hard because so much of the world seems to conspire to force crap upon you. Fortunately, a few simple routine changes make bothering you much more painful than leaving you in peace. Yeah, that's kind of what we're talking about. It's time to stop taking information abuse. And he feels pretty strongly about that. All right, 8 minutes in already. So that's me getting sidetracked, of course, as always. The bully on the playground. I went to a pretty tough school in New Jersey. We had metal detectors back in 1982. Women would drag other women into the bathroom and kick the shit out of them, and there's fights every day. It wasn't your typical suburban high school. So freshman year, everybody's new. We're all coming in from all these grammar schools. We didn't have middle school back then. It was just grade 1 through 8, and then everybody went to freshman year high school together, new from all these different little 1 through 8 schools. So everybody's trying to establish reputations and be the tough guy, and the whole social clique and all that. Law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, blah, blah, blah. So what I decided to do was get in a fight on purpose, challenge a guy to a fight after school. I didn't even know who the fuck I was. And, make a statement, kind of like the guy who he said swinging and flailing and just making it so tough that, criminals take the path of least resistance. So they go for the unlocked car, the unlocked house. They don't want to work, right? So in the cafeteria. I picked a fight with a kid, took a swing at him, told him I'll meet you after school. All by design. I wasn't angry. I wasn't pissed. I didn't lose my temper. It was calculated. Met him after school. Luckily enough, I beat him up. I never thought about if I lose, what would happen. So fortunately I won, and I never had to figure out what plan B would have been, but I won. I beat him up. While he was on the ground, I took my penis out and I urinated on him while he's on the ground. And my thinking was, even if another kid, and everybody's watching, fight after school. Everybody knows, and they get in a big circle. I don't know if you all had that same experience, but if you haven't, when there's a fight, everybody in school knows about it. Word of mouth spreads very quickly, and they all get around you in a big circle, 3, 4, 5 deep. There had to be 500 kids there watching that fight. And the next day, anybody who wasn't at the fight because they had to go catch a bus or whatever, they heard about it. So when I pissed on this kid after I beat him, I never had another fight in the 4 years in that school, because even if they thought they could beat me, they didn't want to take the chance because they didn't want to get pissed on. So that's exactly what he's talking about. Is the risk outweighed the reward. There were so many other kids that they could beat up who wouldn't piss on them. It just wasn't worth touching me. And then freshman year, I was 5'11" and 116 pounds. So there's a lot of kids who probably could have beat me up. But of course, I would have gone down with the fight like he was talking about. But that was the year the football coach took me out of study hall. He talked to my study hall teacher. We were supposed to just study in the middle of the day, which is retarded, and gave me a second gym. I got to go work out in the gym. So by sophomore year, I was 6 foot and 150 pounds, and most of that was muscle. I put a lot, 30, 40 pounds of muscle on. Just grew 1 more inch, but I got a lot thicker and a lot more muscular from freshman year to sophomore year. So part of it, I think, of no fights in 4 years in a pretty rough school where there's a fight just about every day, was the peeing on the kid. And the other part was I got bigger, stronger, thicker in that freshman year. I was a totally different guy sophomore year. And now, when they looked at me, I don't think it was as easy a mark as I would have been as a freshman. So that factored into it too. But once again, real life examples from the book, what he's talking about, fight like a retard, bite, scratch, punch, kick him in the balls, do whatever. There are no rules except that you must win. And the only reason to win and humiliate your opponent is so that there won't be more fights. I'm sure that's in Art of War by Sun Tzu somewhere, but it's been a long time since I read it, and I don't remember the particular quote that would cover that, but that's definitely a technique and a strategy, as opposed to just being a disgusting human being peeing on somebody else. There was a purpose to it, and it worked. So that's it for today. You all have a good one, and I'm not condoning you pee on people. I'm just saying, if you make it hard enough to abuse you physically or with words or with too much information, then people won't do it, because people in general, including me, are lazy. So, good lesson today.